Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux and Mike Beer here with the Daily Racing Form. Del Mar this Sunday has a 9-race program. We're going to look at their stakes race on the card. It's race number 8 for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. It's the Betty Grable, 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's part of that Golden State Series, Mike. A field of 7 assembled, and kind of looking at this group in here, the 4 Pushiness is arguably the horse to beat.
Yeah, I feel like just because it kind of feels like a little bit of a 2-horse race here between the 2 and the 4, but I think the big advantage that the 4 Pushiness has is she's speed, and Jiz Mosa, the 2, is not. And it kind of feels like Pushiness could be absolutely loose on the lead in here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that several times now in 2 of her last 3 starts on the dirt. Actually, they've been her only dirt starts out of those last 3. She's made an easy lead and has been able to take them gate to wire. And we'll take a look at what time form U.S. pace projections project here. And they're looking at the same thing here. Not only the 4 Pushiness maybe being loose on the lead here, but you can see that this race flow should favor those front runners. And the LP flag is attached to an interesting runner in here, the number 3 Big Summer, who Mike's coming out of those turf races, but does have 2 races on the dirt at Del Mar.
Yeah, I'm going to assume the LP. I mean, obviously, it's based on mostly on Big Summer's turf races. We'll see if she's going to be able to be as effective. She's run okay on dirt in the past. To me, you know, the best closer in the race is the 2. It's not the 3, but we'll see how that plays out.
We'll kick off the field here with the number 1, Robertos Love, who tried the turf last time out, Mike, in the Unzip Me and really wasn't able to go, but she's lightly raced. And I guess if I'm going to knock her, you have to go pretty early in her 3-year-old season this year to find those better races.
Yeah, we'll see how much she can improve here at the end of her 3-year-old campaign. Because if nothing else, I guess you could say she started out with a little promise, a stakes winner early on. Then she didn't stretch out, had some layoffs to deal with. I don't care about the turf race last time. So, you know, turf to dirt, room to improve here. She's got a little bit of speed too. We looked at that pace projector where it feels like being forward could be some kind of an advantage here. You know, she's going to have to take a pretty significant step forward here, but maybe she can do it.
You mentioned turf to dirt, similar move here for the number 2, Jiz Mosa. Now, we're not going to look at the turf effort in that most recent start, but we'll actually go 2 races back. And as we take a look at the replay there for that event, grade 3 event, she had to tackle Sweet Azteca, who I know more recently had a disappointing performance, but she was on a tear. And I don't think it's an embarrassment to be second to that filly.
No, absolutely not. She just had really no chance in this race, but she's very game to get second, and she is a prior graded stakes winner. One of the things that you really like about her, I think, when you start picking through her form is that she's just really held her own against some much better horses. Her running style is a little problematic, Ashley. I mean, she just doesn't have an awful lot of speed. The most recent win, 4 starts back, when you go back and watch that replay, I mean, they worked hard. She was on the chase the entire way there, just not to get out running there, and she eventually got the job done there when the leaders got really tired through the stretch. It feels like this pace could really work against her, but in some ways, she's the best horse in the race.
I think she probably is the best horse in the race based on what we've seen so far on the class relief alone. Obviously, her resume maybe isn't as flashy as Pushiness in that sense, and her trips to the winner's circle are few and far between. But I agree. I think she could be pace compromise in here, but at the same time, I wonder if we kind of go back to January 1st. I know it was only going 6 furlongs, but it seemed like there was a little bit more of a move early to have her at least not too far off of it and end up being a winning move. But completely agree that she might be, you know, kind of in need in deep stretch to have something happen in front of her, because she's going to need some pace to run at. The 3 Big Summer, very interesting horse. We'll actually take a look at her most recent performance. And when you look at the race on the turf, I know it's on the downhill, different ball game, but in terms of who she faced, this is a pretty strong field. It was a big field, wide open on paper, and she got her similar trip to what we've seen from her in the past, and she just comes up a little bit short behind Grand Slam Smile.
I thought she ran well in here. I feel like she's just a better turf horse, but you know, I guess if you just, it's very infrequent that they run her on the dirt, and the last 2 times they ran her on it, I mean, she did run pretty well. There's a win in there. The Monrovia was an off turf race, but the horse that won that race, Elm Drive, she's a good turf horse, but she's also a good dirt horse. I actually liked the race that Big Summer ran in there. But she did flatten out pretty significantly at the end of that race. And to me, she just looks like a turf horse to me. I think she's better on that surface.
I agree with you. I think if you look at the Monrovia, though, you see the figure and you go, wow, that's good. You mentioned it, though. It came off the turf, but at least Elm Drive, the winner, those are some quick fractions to go sub 109. And for her to flatten, I guess when you're sometimes chasing like that, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage. So we'll see what she can do here. I think she's a little bit of a sneaky horse, especially at the right price. But the 4 Pushiness is probably the most proven in terms of the dirt and what we've seen from her, and the fact that she might be the lone speed here.
Yeah, that feels like it's her real big advantage, is just that she's so fast early. And then when you start looking at everybody else in the field, it's hard to picture them keeping up with her early in the race. Even the most recent start there, when they went turf to dirt with her, she was last from the gate in there and just rushed up the inside, took charge of that pace, and never gave that field a real chance in there. I know that she's up in class for this, but she's already a multiple stakes winner. She obviously fits with these horses. And if she's loose in here and improves even a little bit, I think she's going to be really hard to catch.
Well, I think it's worth noting, too, that race 3 back, the Fleet Treat, she wins it gate to wire pretty easy. We talked about Grand Slam Smile when we showed the previous replay, beating Big Summer. And look who was behind her. Safa back on track, and Robertos Love, who she's going to have to face again. And obviously that race was at 7 ace, so just something else to note with Pushiness. The number 5, Safa, up next in the field. We'll actually take a look at her most recent performance. It was going 6 furlongs on the dirt. It was at Santa Anita, and she had to close from very far off of it. And not sure what your takeaways were from this race, Mike, but I just think it's the pace that really aided her here.
Yeah, I felt like it did too. I'll give her credit for just sort of doing this just about every time, though. She really does show up and runs her race every single time. And so if they're going to go fast in front of her, then you know that she will be coming at you late. I didn't necessarily think she was good enough to beat the 2 favorites in this race, but I'm not knocking this horse. She runs every time.
Yeah, I don't love that she's 0 for 5 at Del Mar, but you mentioned she shows up every time. Look at her record, 14 for 16 in the money. And maybe worth noting, Kazushi Kimura is climbing aboard with Thiago Pereira going to who in here? Jiz Mosa, who obviously is one of the top 2 in here in terms of betting interest. Move to the next horse here in the starting gate, the 6 back on track, who obviously had some issues last time out. And prior to that, faced some tough competition going a mile in the Torrey Pines, but you just kind of wonder, based on what we've seen, what's the ideal scenario for her when her figures are pretty light compared to others?
Yeah, the ideal scenario is probably a claiming race for this horse. Her turf form isn't good, so I guess you can give her a pass for that last one. The problem is her dirt form isn't very good either.
The 7 Irish Wahine rounds out the field in here. I'll be honest, I've been a big fan of this mare. I think she tries every single time, and she has some races that at those lower ranks, she's been very competitive, almost when she had that win streak going, tried to make it 5 in a row and had that third in between. But since then, I think that the spots she's been in since being claimed for 20,000 have been so tough. And I'll give it to her last time out, though. She was a big second at a huge price.
Yeah, she did pick up some pieces there. It's at least worth noting that was the race where Sweet Azteca, for whatever reason, totally bombed. And so it just sort of left that race open for some other horses. So maybe this horse took advantage a little bit. She's a really nice horse. I'm not knocking her. 11 times she's won already. She's probably not really a stakes horse, but she could be a little bit more forward in this race. Maybe get the right kind of trip and get a piece of this.
Okay, based on our discussion, the 2 Jiz Mosa and the 4 Pushiness look like the top 2 in here. Maybe the wild card is the 3 Big Summer. So as we take a look at our top picks, we'll see if anyone was creative. No, I mean, we're using the 2 horses here. I think the difference is running style. And, you know, Mike, you're in the camp of Pushiness on top. She has that early foot. And for me, I went with the 2 Jiz Mosa just based on significant class relief.
Yeah, I won't argue with your position. I feel like Pushiness might be the favorite too. So that could also sway you to maybe look more at the 2. I'm just going to take the speed in here. I thought about, putting the 3 on top at a better price. I couldn't quite get there. I'm going to take the 4 over the 2.
4, 2, 3, 5 for Mike, 2, 4, 3, 5 for me. Same horses underneath in those 3rd and 4th spots. It's a stakes race this Sunday out at Del Mar. It's the Betty Grable. Best of luck.
Hey friends, you look like you're in need of a winner. If you enjoyed the great content right here, just click and subscribe right here and enjoy the great DRF.com race of the days, the phenomenal stakes previews, and so much more. Many of that content featuring me and my exceptional selections. Trust me, you won't regret it.